All this does not equal security anymore. Yes, things will work out. Are they going to work out the way that you want them to? Why do I intellectually know something, but I don't follow through? Every moment that goes by that you're not on the path that you want to be, you're following another path that has nothing to do with your life. You don't want to wait until you're forced to change. Where the heck do I start? There's something going on right now that a lot of people are not talking about, and I think it's because no one really knows how to explain it. We're seeing homelessness at record highs in America now. One of the things that shocked me was more than half of those homeless people have jobs, part-time and a lot of times full-time jobs, but they can't afford housing in America. So I was thinking, okay, so what changed? Because this isn't the way things always used to be. So I started looking at what the path people are following, like what leads to homelessness. You know, naturally you can't afford housing. Okay, what leads to that? And one of the things I realized was a lot of people are still following old career advice. A lot of us were told, get good grades, get a job, work hard, stay at the company for 30 years, retire, and you'll be set. And that plan worked really well for a really long time. So for the longest time, this plan worked. This is what we'll call the promise, okay? You were told from childhood, as long as you get good grades, go to college, get a good job, be a hard worker, and stay loyal, you'll have security. Now, jobs back in the day also used to take care of their people differently. That's why this all worked. You have a pension, you have benefits, you have retirement, and you had raises that kept up with inflation. And that's one of the most important things, and one of the biggest changes was back then, wages kept up with the cost of living. You just had to be a good worker, show up on time, work hard. All this does not equal security anymore. It doesn't. Hopefully, after watching this video, you'll have a better understanding of why things worked for a long time, why they no longer work, and what you need to do to get back on track. So one of the reasons I believe that people are having a hard time understanding what changed is because none of this happened overnight. You know, we're going from globalization, technology, internet, automation, AI, corporate priorities. These things happened over decades. Before globalization, there used to be a lot of mom and pop shops for pretty much everything. Your hardware store, electronics, you had a lot of small businesses that could survive. When computers came about, that also started taking jobs from people. Customers can price shop. Customers can look online to buy things. The marketplace has gotten so much more competitive because of a lot of these things. The way that everything is going, you have to up your game and bring more value if you want to survive. The way I look at it is we are all CEOs of our own life. We're all managers, CEOs that run this business of our lives. So if you go into a store and you don't like the way it's being run, you could blame the management, blame the CEO, but if you look at your life and you don't like the way things are going, again, you look at the management, you look at the CEO, and you make the changes that you need to change. AI is changing the game big time. See, all these other things, automation, the internet, technology, these things helped us do better. AI is the first time that we have something that's actually thinking for human beings, and that makes a huge difference. The fact that we have something that can think, now they say, oh, well, it doesn't actually think, regardless of how the technology works, is completely irrelevant. The fact is, it does what we would call thinking for human beings. That is something that no other revolution has done in the history of man, to compete with man on a thought level. Now, to be clear, they are right. AI cannot replace a human being who does think for themselves. Human beings, we are still extremely valuable when we use our mind, when we think. That is the commodity going forward. The fact that we have AI now and AI can think completely changes the game. So this is not like any other revolution in history. Now, companies can use AI to replace the minds of human beings. Now, again, they can't replace it if you use your mind effectively, if you use your creative faculties and use the parts of your mind that AI cannot replicate. AI is not great at everything, though it's getting better and better. So who knows where it's going to be a year from now, 5, 10 years from now. Corporate priorities have changed. And like I talked about before, jobs used to take care of people. Corporate priorities now, you have shareholders. They want to save more money. They want to get more done for less money. And with AI, they're able to do that. So, you know, whereas employees were loyal, employers were loyal before, that's not really the full case anymore. And it's nothing against corporate America. It's nothing against corporations at all. Again, they're operating their business the best way they can. And us as CEOs of our own life and our own business have to operate our lives the best we can. Right now, although it's a dangerous time to be alive, if you don't understand these things, it's the best time to be alive if you do understand them. But we can use all these tools, especially nowadays, to make ourselves more valuable so that we can live the life that we want. So if the security that we all crave, if it doesn't even exist in the way that we've always known it to exist, where do we find security now? Skills. Before it used to be about get the degree, get the job title. Now it's all about skills. Now there are some industries where you still they still require you to go to school and get those degrees. So those you play by their rules. But I'm talking about just the majority of the job market. It's not about job title. It's not about degrees, diplomas, or anything. It's about what skills do you have. When you become the best at what you do by using all the technology and resources that we have, now you're worth something to the marketplace. So now if a job doesn't want you, you know the job next door does because you're the best at what you do. Next thing that creates security today is adaptability. Things are moving so fast, but in today's current world, you need to be adaptable. If you're not adaptable, you're gonna have a really rough ride going forward. There was a time when celebrities and movie stars did not do commercials because commercials would hurt their brand name and their reputation. And now you see almost every single celebrity doing commercials and endorsements now. They had to adapt. If they didn't, they weren't going to stay working and stay employed. Resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is where can I make a difference? Where do I see opportunities? Some people see closed doors, some people see open doors, some people see opportunity, some people see just a road to destruction. How resourceful you are, your mindset is going to determine which road that you take because you literally will not see opportunities if your mindset is closed off to them. Once you shift your mind, everything else will fall into place. Creating security now, you want to have assets. Assets being, see, when you work a job, and that whole old model was basically on trading time for money. I work 40 hours, this is my hourly wage, and this is how I get paid. You're trading your time for money. Part of the issue now is working 40 hours a week, jobs are not keeping up with inflation. So a lot of people I know are working multiple jobs and going to school and barely getting by. When you trade time for money, you only have so much time that you can trade, which means you can only make so much money. When you have assets are things that you build once and you can sell. Commodities, whether you have an online store, basically a business that can make you money while you are sleeping, make you money 24/7 rather than trading your time for money. You might own stocks, you might own rental property. You know, having assets are things that will generate income while you are not there. So it's not just trading time for money. Basically, we all need to start thinking a little bit more like business owners. Now, if we go over to ownership, it's not just about tangible items, like I said, owning a house or owning a small business. You have to take ownership of your role in your life. Take ownership of yourself. See, before, who was going to take care of you before? Your employer, school, government, that worked. Today, it's you. You are the only one that's going to take care of yourself. There is no one coming to rescue you. I talk to people in their 20s and they have this idea that, you know, somehow things will work out. And I remember thinking that same thing. I remember thinking, things will work out. Who cares, man? I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want. Then you get older and you see people in retirement age and they're practically looking back, shaking their head, man, thinking like, man, I wish I knew it was going to be like this, because they had that same idea too. They thought things will just work out. But again, times have changed, and especially now, no one is coming to save you. But with all these tools that we have, no matter what age you are, especially with something like AI, you can learn so much more, so much faster than ever before, that you can start to develop these things and start to enhance your life. Security today is about having options. Options meaning, again, if you create value, let's say you don't want to start a YouTube channel, you don't want to develop products to sell. Options would be using all the tools today to be the best you can at whatever it is you do want to do. You can go on YouTube, use AI. There's so many resources now to be the best version at whatever you want to be. That gives you options, because when you're the best, now you have options because people want to work with you and hire you. And since we have this global marketplace, we're not relegated to just our local market. We can have collaborations or business with people from around the world. So I'm going to read this real quick from my ebook, The Death of Job Security. It says, you don't need to quit your job tomorrow, but you do need to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an asset builder. So ask yourself, what do I know that solves a real problem? What have I learned that others want to know? What can I build once that pays me more than once? What system or platform can I create that works even when I'm not? This shift in thinking is required in the new world, and the great thing about it is once you embrace it, you start to take control of your, not just your income, but of your life. You don't need to be a genius, you just need to shift your lens because the world has already shifted. This is no longer optional. This is essential. This is out of my ebook, The Death of Job Security, and I wrote it based on this topic because, like I said, I see these changes happening in the world. People don't know what's happening or what's going on, and I want to be able to reach as many people as possible. You need to understand what's going on and say, I don't want to settle for whatever life gives me. I want to take control of my life and steer it in the direction that I want to. So a lot of times, not just with this, but with all of life, we know what to do. We know we want to achieve this goal. We want to make more money. We want to lose weight. We want to find a partner, but we do not take action. So in this case, why don't we take action? Comfort. We don't take action because we get comfortable in life. That stability we were talking about before allowed us to be like, all right, well, I've got a house, got a roof over my head. I'm all right, I'm comfortable. But again, the homelessness in America is rising, and all those people were comfortable at one point too. That worked for a long time. It doesn't work anymore. You can't afford to be comfortable unless you do what I said before, which is make yourself valuable and create options. Hope, optimism. People, again, that thinking that, oh, everything will work out. Everything will be fine. Everything is going to work out for me, and it's going to work out around the world. Now, optimism is necessary. You know, we want to have a bright outlook. We want to use visualization and visualize where we want to go. But hope without action is dangerous and meaningless and does nothing. And so hope and optimism are required, but it needs to be followed by action. A lot of people just say, oh, things will get better. I hope things will get better. But then as years go by, they find themselves in dire situations, still with hope. God forbid if any of you end up homeless, right? That's things working out. Things probably not working out the way that you wanted them to, but it's things working out. So when people say things will work out, yes, things will work out. Are they going to work out the way that you want them to? In order for that to happen, for them to work out the way you want them to, you need to take control and you need to take action. Tomorrow, procrastination. I'll take care of it tomorrow. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Before you know it, time has passed. Tomorrow became tomorrow, became tomorrow, became next year, became next 5 years. Time, I've noticed, seems to move more in decades than it does by years or days. So tomorrow often never comes. It gets to the point where you're forced to change. Once you're forced to change, once your situation gets to a point where now you have no choice. I was watching this video and they were talking about, it was on homelessness, and then they were, showing them evicting people. So these sheriff departments literally going into these houses at gunpoint, telling these people they need to move. Now you're forced to change, and that's what happens if you don't take action. Now the cost of doing these things, if you do not take action, time. There's that same, time is the only thing you'll never get back. Time seems to move in decades. It doesn't seem to move year by year. Now, as you look back, it seems that way. One thing that's interesting is we look forward and time seems infinite, but we look back and we're like, where the heck did all that time go? Even if you're 28 years old right now, a lot of people would say, oh, 28, you're still a kid. If you're 28, you've been out of high school for like 10 years. I'm sure you still remember being in high school, so you probably think, oh, by the time I'm 28, I'll have this together, I'll have that together, I'll be established. Has that happened? If that has not happened, it's because probably for a lot of these reasons, right? But once you take control, you start looking at time as an asset and as something to look forward to. Options. As time goes on, your options become fewer and fewer. Let's say right now you have a well-paying job. It's not where you want to be in life, and it's not going to take care of your future, but right now you're comfortable and you're set. Now is the time you want to make choices. You don't want to wait until you're forced to change. The sooner you take action, the more options you have. Opportunity. Every moment that goes by that you're not on the path that you want to be, you're following another path that has nothing to do with your life. So let's say, whatever you're going to start today, if you had started it 5 years ago, you would be in a completely different place now. By starting now, you can take your life in a completely different direction within a year, within 5 years. So you want to take control and not lose out on time that you could be spent crafting the life that you want. Control. Have you ever tried to make decisions under duress, under stress? It's hard to think because you have so much pressure. You don't want to get to that point where you are out of control, because what you're doing there is basically you're telling the world, just give me whatever you got and I'll just go with the flow and I'll go wherever you lead me. If you take control, you say, no, I am going to direct my life the way I want to go because I'm the CEO of my life. I run my life, you don't, and you make your own rules. You want to be in that position of control to make your own decisions. One of the biggest things is not necessarily what happens in life. It's that we get forced into doing things we don't want to do. I think that's the bigger mental toll. So after all this, you might be thinking, okay, well, where do I start? I want my life to go in the direction that I want. I don't want to be forced to change. I want to take control of my life. So where the heck do I start? So next, we're going to go over where you start, what steps you can take to start making decisions, to start taking control of your life. So we went over how things used to be, why those methods no longer work. We went over why people don't take action, the cost of not taking action. Now let's talk about where to start taking control of your life and changing the trajectory and setting yourself up for a much better future. So you start by questioning your assumptions. A lot of us are holding beliefs that are decades old that don't really align with where we are today. So you want to start questioning things. To be a better version of yourself means that you have to be someone different, right? When in order to be different, you have to change. So in order to change, you have to be open to change. And in order to be open to change, it starts by questioning beliefs that you have and say, where did this belief come from? Do I still believe this? Is this still serving me? It doesn't mean the belief is wrong. There's a time and place for everything. But sometimes we also have beliefs that we say, okay, this is what I believe across the board, rather than saying, okay, well, this belief serves me in this area, but it doesn't necessarily serve me well in this other area. So you want to start questioning things. What if there's a better way? If there's a better way to do things, you want to at least be open to that possibility. So it starts by questioning your beliefs, your assumptions about yourself, about your world, and about where you're trying to go. Next, you want to learn a valuable skill. We talked about using technology, using AI. If you're not familiar with using AI, things like Claude, like ChatGPT, I encourage you to start to mess around with them. Like to bake pastries, if you like to play music, if you like to do video editing, if you like to do finances, whatever it is that you enjoy, if you want to be a YouTuber and travel around the world, whatever you want to do, start to be open to the idea and start to learn it. Start to learn the skill. Start to look at people who are living the life that you want and start to look at their belief systems. But don't just look at them as a spectator. Ask yourself, what value are they bringing to the world? Now, when I say value, some of us will hear that word and we might think different things, but being an entertainer is bringing entertainment to people, for example. That is a value. It's solving a problem. Some people might say they're not bringing any value to anybody. Well, they're providing the solution of entertainment. That's the value that they're bringing. So you want to look at the skill that you want to acquire and think, okay, what value does this bring to people? What problem does it solve for them? And you want to learn it and you want to get great at it. Next, you want to build your asset. So whatever it is, whatever value you're going to bring, build a thing that's going to showcase your value. Again, whether it's a website, whether it's a portfolio, take ownership. So what you want to do is basically you're looking at your game, you're looking at your plan and you're saying, are we moving forward? Are we better off today than we were yesterday? You want to take ownership. And again, this has nothing to do with being arrogant and saying you're better than anybody else. You want to be the best version that you can be. So as you're learning your valuable skill and building your asset, take ownership of it, take pride in it. And we get to repeat. The repetition is one of the most important things because when you start to develop new habits, you're doing two things at once. You're trying to develop a new habit and you're trying to quit an old habit. So depending on how long that habit's been around and that thought process has been around, it's more challenging. But again, it's not impossible. And you change it, you change your mindset through repetition by doing these things, even when you don't necessarily feel like it. What you're really doing is changing your mindset to be, this is the person that I am. When you start to focus on your life more, you might not be as available to hang out with other people as before. But again, you want to take control of your life. You have to decide if taking control of your life is more important than just hanging out with other people. All of this equals bringing value. Not only bringing value to the marketplace, but bringing value to yourself. Value creates options in the marketplace. So no matter what happens, AI, technology, when you're continually building, one thing is very few people continually try to get better at what they do. You'd be amazed. Very few people do. They get a job or they get comfortable and they stop trying to get better. So when you make it a point to continually get better at whatever it is, you immediately stand out from everybody else. So that's why today, with all the tools that we have, it's kind of easier than ever to move up and to skyrocket, because even with all these tools that we have, a lot of people are using these tools and media and everything to just tune out. seen the trends happen. We see it happening. We see the rise of anxiety, the rise of depression, the rise of homelessness in America. And these things are part of the cause. And I hope that you understand now why following that old advice, get good grades, go to college, work for the job 30 years, that whole spiel, it's not stable anymore. It's not, and it's not just my opinion again. You can see it across the country. Like I said, I have my ebook, Death of Job Security. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. I have more resources available on my website, briancamay.co. I see trends happen around in our world, and I question why these things are happening. People will say, that's just the way it is. Personally, I refuse to settle for that's just the way it is. So I look to see what's happening in the world, what's the elephant in the room that we're not talking about, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, let's figure it out, and let's create a better life for ourselves. So check out some of my resources on my website, but let's do it. Take control of your life. Now you know what to do, you know what not to do, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.